Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and I don't usually go live on Sundays, but I was having my morning tea. I was going through some of the DeFi platforms, and I ran across something that I was just way too excited about covering with you all. I was gonna wait till tomorrow, but we have tomorrow's show, and I usually reserve that for Jeff so that he can go over some of the more airdrop related stuff and get you the early alpha on some really cool projects. So without further ado, I'm going to jump on into this. But if you are out there watching, if you could come over here to YouTube and follow us on YouTube. We are not a monetized channel. So we're trying to grow organically. We have enough followers to where we can monetize, but we very much enjoy, putting this content out for free. I feel that it is a very good indication that what we put out on this show has nothing to do with that we're getting paid, that we're getting crypto, that we're, being incentivized in any way. It to me is a reflection of just putting out good quality content. So if you could, please just do that small thing. Follow us, like the stream, share the stream. Over here on X, you follow me at veteran the number 4 crypto, and you can follow Jeff over at I'm having a brain cramp real quick. The BRC 142 on X, and he is my airdrop specialist. When it comes to airdrops, the guy in early projects, he's the one that turned me on to Plume. So if you want that early alpha, by all means, get on him about that. Our Discord, you down in the description, you'll see that we have the DCA Discord where we have a great group of people. Anybody that is not in here, with good intentions, if they're bringing alpha, if they're bringing news, if they're helping other people, they're welcome. Anybody that we catch spamming or trying to scam, we get them out. So, this is a really good quality, very well moderated, Discord. And then, of course, over here at the DIG, the Discover Investment Group, if you want to follow people like Drew over at Blockchain Basement, TJ, Josh, DZ, or Kelly, there's a whole suite. It's all of our brother channels. So you got Discover Crypto, you have Blockchain Basement and BitLab Academy, and then of course Jeff at the Blockchain Report. Pretty much anything that you could want to know in crypto, you're going to find it here. If it's news, if it's the alpha, if it's trading, they walk you through it step by step, and often live in the Discord, they'll give you entries and exits. So with that, want to just thank everybody that shows up live for the show and contributes in the chat. I love the back and forth that we have. If you have any questions, please by all means drop it in there. This episode might go a little long. There's a lot to cover here, and I want to make sure that I do this justice. So we already have like 50 people in the watching live, and which is like unheard of on Sundays. So I appreciate you all tuning in. So without further ado, let's jump right into this. So I'm just going to start off where I kind of started discovering this. So as you can see here, this is the Plume portal. Anybody that's new to the channel, we are very, very bullish on Plume. If you don't know why, by all means, please look at some of our other videos. We do deep dives on Plume. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it'll turn an hour-long show into a 2 or 3 hour show, and I'm sure you all don't want to sit through that. So basically, the Plume network is focused on being the rails for DeFi and RWA, real world assets. And they are building out a monster ecosystem. So this is the Plume portal. And you can come to explore And you have bridges, dexes, derivatives, ways you can earn, gaming, infrastructure, launch pad if you want to, launch your own stuff, lending, and the marketplace. And so, I mean, you're gonna see names in here that Curve Finance, Morpho, who else? Dinero, Elixir, Casu Finance. You're gonna find a lot. Merkle, you're gonna find a lot. There's Morpho right there. Mystic. So this is where my journey down the rabbit hole began, was with Mystic. So if you jump over here, this is the Mystic platform, and it's a borrowing and lending platform. It's powered by Plume, but much like Mammo, how Mammo, it doesn't actually custody assets. Mystic doesn't custody assets either. It leverages, in this case, Morpho. So Mammo leverages Moonwell on Base Network, and Mystic leverages Morpho for their vaults. Now, let's see. Yes, Jay, crypto does not take days off, and either do I, obviously. So you can see that they have 100 million in total deposits, 33 million in total borrowed, and 26 million in total liquidity. They're trusted by eOracle, iExec, Rooster, Midas, and of course Morpho, because they are leveraging Morpho. And then Nest, which is important. Those that aren't familiar, Nest is another project that is built out on Plume, and it offers real world assets, tokenized real world assets. So you're able to, and with that, tokenizing real world assets. So, you have institutional grade private credit, you have sorry, lost you there. I'm on Starlink. Comes with the territory. But they have tokenized US treasuries. I mean, just all kinds of different stuff. But another rabbit hole I don't want to get down. So, you can see, these just major players, BlackRock, Carlyle, Centrifuge, Paxos, UBS, Goldfinch, just list goes on. And so, this is a really, really cool platform as well. I'm starting to invest quite heavily in it, and the yield isn't too bad for traditional assets. I mean, earning 10%, 12% on traditional assets is pretty fucking strong. So, back to Mystic. So I started diving down this rabbit hole, and what I found was that they use Morpho, and anything that you deposit here, or lend out, it uses Morpho's vaults, like its platform. Sorry, I'm a little bit excited about this. So the reason I'm so excited about it is, one, it's on Plume, very bullish on Plume. Two, you earn Plume points for using Mystic. And three, it bridges liquidity from between Plume and Base Network. And if you're not familiar, Base is going to be a beast. It is already a major part of Coinbase's offerings. So the new Base app is going to have DeFi on it, DeFi and RWAs, amongst many other things. And it is going to remove the barriers to entry for the masses. You're going to be able to deposit your liquidity, your money directly onto Coinbase, and from there be able to access Morpho, Moonwell, Mammo, and possibly KTA and a bunch of other base projects. So the fact that this is basically a bridge between Plume Network and Base means that potentially this could onboard a lot of liquidity onto Plume Network. So, do with that as you will. And with all of this, do your own research. But this is the research that I found. So, let's see. I'll share this. So, I've been testing this out. So you can earn, here are some of the vaults. And again, there's two things that you see here. Now, the one that I'm invested in right now is this one. So you have the YUSD, PUSD. PUSD is Plume's stablecoin that is backed 1-to-1 with USDC. So it is fully US compliant. Those of you that don't know, Plume has a seat at the table in Washington, D.C. with regulators. Because of that, they have purposely built out their network and their stablecoin and a lot of their offerings to be U.S. compliant. And they understand what is coming down the pipe when it comes to U.S. regulation and compliance, so that they are able to stay up to speed and ensure that they stay compliant so that they can operate with it and offer all of this to U.S. customers. Again, genius that they backed PUSD with USDC. Reason being, as long as USDC Circle is compliant with US regulations, by default PUSD will be, because it is backed by USDC. Hope that makes sense. But if you look, this NT bill, in basis, in alpha, all of this stuff that's on Mystic, where you can lend these assets, they are all from Nest, which is also on Plume, which is, like I just said, backed by, it's where, BlackRock, Carlyle, Centrifuge being a tokenization platform for people to tokenize real world assets, PayPal, Paxos, UBS, all of these, it's where you can buy their offerings. It's a platform that is offering their tokenized assets. You see where this is all starting to connect? So you have Plume Network, you have Nest, you have Mystic, you have Morpho, you have Base Chain, you have Coinbase. It is all these people that are working together, BlackRock, all of these. If you see this ecosystem, how it's being built out, who is working with whom, this is what is going to, these fundamentals is what is going to help you, not guarantee, but help you understand which projects have staying power, which ones are going to survive the culling that is coming. Because as these regulations are drafted, those projects that were not purposely built out to stay in compliance with different regulatory bodies around the world, not just US, but the UK, Australia, Asian markets, wherever, if they are not modular, if they do not have the ability to rapidly and in real time adapt as new regulations come out, they are not going to last. They are not going to be the Googles, the Microsofts that are going to be around in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Those are the projects you want to be investing in. So, back to this. Actually, back to here. So, you can see, just looking at this one screen, you have Morpho, you have Nest, you have Mystic, you have Plume. all working in concert. The beautiful thing with this platform is you can lend out. So I deposit stable coins and I can earn right here 7.7% on stables. I can also, let's see, where else? What do we got here? I can also earn 14% on this one because you can see supply APY. It's a basket of assets. So you are lending PUSD, you are getting paid out these yields on these assets because that is what this consists of. And then you can churn around and you can borrow. So the collateral asset is these, and this in PUSD, their stable coin, is the stable coin that you borrow, which is key because one of the things that you can do is what's called a flywheel. So say I have $50,000 in stable coins, which I I plan on doing. This is something I plan on doing. And probably with all of my Plume assets, as I DCA out, I'll probably DCA out because it's already on the Plume network into PUSD. I will then borrow out the PUSD and earn 14, 15%. And then I will churn around and I will borrow on those assets, probably low leverage, like 50, 60%. But when I borrow that PUSD, I can then churn around and do the same thing over again. So if I lent out, we'll say 100,000, I'll borrow 50%. So I still have the 100,000. I'll churn around and borrow 50%, so 50,000. I will then churn around and re-lend that. So now I'm lending $150,000 out. With that 50,000, I'll take out a 50%. So that's 25,000. I will then churn around and lend that out. Now I'm up to 175,000 that I'm lending out. Turn around and 50% that and just keep doing that to where I turn 100,000 into around $200,000 that I'm lending out, earning 14%. And it's a low leverage loan. So what I can do is with some of my other assets that maybe I'm just earning 10% on, I can have that in reserves. So if something comes up to where I need to pay off those, just hurry and pay off those loans, then I have those assets available. So I can double the amount of liquidity that I'm earning on with a very low risk play. I hope what I'm saying makes sense because this is a really powerful strategy that we can do with stable coins in the coming market. And make sure you do your own research because there are risks involved. Mystic is not a custodial platform. They don't hold your assets. It's still self custody. Same with Morpho. Is you are not fully putting your assets on these platforms. It's something that you know what. Let's do this. I have Miles pulled up, my AI co-host. Let's ask Miles real quick because he does a really good job at simplifying.
Hi, good to connect again.
Hey, Miles, real quick. We're live, and I'm wanting to make sure that I get this right. So I'm talking to them about Mystic and about Morpho, and I brought up that they are non-custodial platforms. Can you explain to me and the audience in the simplest terms possible what a non-custodial DeFi protocol or platform is, and how it's different from, or how it actually? If
Gotcha.
you could just explain that, go. Let's go with that.
Okay, right. So basically, with a non-custodial platform, You're always in control of your crypto. Think of it like this. Instead of handing your cash to a bank and trusting them to keep it safe, you keep it in your own wallet. The platform gives you tools to do things with it, lend it, borrow against it, whatever, but they never actually hold it for you. The difference with the custodial platform is, well, they do hold it. It's kind of like a traditional exchange. It's easier, maybe, because they handle the security, but you're trusting them completely. Not
All right. So that's very, very simplified. You keep your assets. You end up. It's a lot like Arrow. If you're familiar with Arrow locks, where you put your liquidity on Aerodrome Finance, you're not actually. You get a receipt, and it's held in your wallet. You can go to other places. Like you can take that NFT for that lock, and you can go to OpenSea and you can sell that NFT to somebody else. Transfer that NFT to them. They get that, and then they own that lock. It's the same thing with this. Whenever you deposit, you get an NFT. It's in your wallet but there's risks because if somebody hacks your wallet, they get access to your deposits. So it's a double-edged sword. You're not exposed to the risk of the platform going down necessarily, but you are taking on a lot of personal responsibility, just like Miles was just saying. Instead of depositing it into a bank, you are holding it yourself like cash. So, do with that as you will, but it's important to understand that difference. I personally like to have the responsibility myself because I want to know that if one of these platforms goes down, that I can't get rugged, that they can't, just disappear with my liquidity. And this is the reason why. Again, I do all of this for free. And the reason that I'm prefacing what I'm about to say with this is I want to be real with you all. I'm not being paid by Mystic or Plume, or I'm not getting tokens. I'm not getting anything. So I can be blunt and honest. This is why I'm very bullish that they're non-custodial, because I dug and I found that Mystic, they only have 6 associated members on LinkedIn. And they're in, there's 2 people in India, 2 in Nigeria, 1 in Portugal, or 2 in Portugal, and then 1 wherever the hell this is. But supposedly these are the people that are behind it. And to be honest, it doesn't fill me with a whole lot of confidence, because looking at it, um, this guy has been with 2 years and 6 months, has been doing business development at Mystic Finance. Before that, at some place called, it's the team that I was able to find does not instill me with a deep, uh, where they were, they have a ton of experience in DeFi and in traditional finance, and a lot of these guys do not strike me as being uh, fully. I think you know where I'm coming from. I don't necessarily. The team doesn't fill me with confidence. I'll just leave it at that. So I like that it's not self custody, or that it is self custody. Sorry. So again, you can see that it's powered by Morpho up here, and then you can see here, this gentleman here is kind of breaking down what I was talking about with looping. So first, you'll need PUSD in your wallet, Plume stablecoin. Second, with that ready, you head over to Nest Credit and you mint an RWA. So that would be like that in alpha, or one of those other tokenized vaults. So you'd mint that. in basis, in T-bill, in alpha, in credit, any of those. Each has a different APY. Depends on how much you want to earn, and then you look on Mystic as well, and you can see, let's see, you can see how much, each of them, are worth as far as, like the borrow APY. So like this in PayFi, it looks like a PayPal deal. It looks like the borrow APY is only 0.03%. All of these borrows are super low APY. So, I mean, it's like super cheap to borrow, which is awesome because your lending far outpaces your borrow, which helps with the looping that I'm about to talk about. So then after you do that on Nest, then let's say that you go with in alpha. Then you go to the borrow tab on Mystic. You deposit your in alpha as collateral, then borrow PUSD against it. In alpha lets you borrow up to 91.5% loan to value. Don't do that because if it dips at all, you're going to get liquidated. You don't want that. That's why I was talking about doing 50% or less, because if for some reason in alpha, the value goes down because of a bear market or whatever, then you don't want to get liquidated. And again, you want to have assets in reserve that you can use to pay down, if it starts getting close to your liquidation level. But back to what I was talking about. Like this guy says, but I recommend staying around 85% max. Like I said, I am very conservative. I would do maybe 50%. That's just the way that I am. You do you though. Now that you have PUSD again, because you went and you got in alpha, so you had your PUSD, you went to Nest, which is this protocol here. Here's in alpha, Nest Alpha Vault. So you can deposit. Let's actually go to an alpha vault. So you can deposit USDC. You receive in alpha. You take in alpha over here to Mystic and come down, find in alpha, and you can, earn, and you deposit that. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Hold on, real quick. I just found I think a flaw in what this guy was talking about. Because to earn, you deposit PUSD here. That must be an old post. So skip what I talked about. You can deposit here. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. No, I know what you do. He's right. You go to Nest, you deposit your USDC, you get in alpha, and then what you do is it's in your wallet. Your in alpha is in your wallet. So you all right. You go to borrow. All right. So you can see here. I can supply in alpha here, and then I can borrow PUSD. And then this is what he was talking about. So once you have the PUSD, then you just repeat the process. So you just go back to here. All right. So you go back to here, the plume, then you go to Nest, you use it to buy in alpha. You come back here, you supply the in alpha, you borrow PUSD against it, and then the PUSD you take over to buy more in alpha. You come back, use that in alpha to supply, and here you're earning 5.18%, and then you borrow against it, and you just keep doing that. And so basically, what that does is it levers up. So you can use, like, again, you can use $100,000 and you can end up levering it up to where you can turn that $100,000 into 150, 175, potentially $200,000 or more. So it's a pretty simple concept. And to be honest, the reason I was a little disconjointed is I haven't actually done it yet. So again, do your own research and use small amounts when you're testing this out. I am using the Mystic platform and I am lending out assets on it. I just don't have enough yet to where I can make it worthwhile, on here to make it worthwhile to do the flywheel. Um, I should, as soon as the markets start moving, I'm going to start building this position, and I'll do an updated video on this and how to do this flywheel. And then I'll, do updates on, how well it's playing out for me. But the purpose of this video was mostly just to point out the connection between Plume, Base Network, Morpho, Nest, and Mystic, and just the way that this ecosystem is starting to materialize and who is playing with whom. And again, I cannot stress enough that when you are looking on places to put your liquidity, to invest, you need to invest by fundamentals. Do not just listen to people like me, influencers that are online. Um, they are motivated by different things. Most are motivated by clicks. They are just trying to get you to click. They are doing that because most of them are monetized. And there's nothing wrong with that. At some point we might monetize, but we're not right now. Um, you know, places like our brother channels, Discover Crypto, they're monetized because they have a huge studio. They have employees that to bring you all the information, all the alpha that they do. They to send people to the conventions and to get the interviews and things like that. They have to have revenue coming in to keep the lights on. There's nothing wrong with monetizing, but some people are driven by the monetization. They're driven by the clicks and the eyeballs, because the more eyeballs they can get, the more money they can make. It can be, it's a drug. It can get to where it's just like they'll say and do anything to get you to click. That is not why we are here. We just want to help you navigate this space in this early stage, because yes, you are early. There is a lot of potential here. And if you navigate these early waters, then you are in a position to benefit greatly, because the amount of liquidity that is about to flood into this market is massive, from institutions, from governments that have not legally been able been not legally been able to get in to get involved in crypto, to get involved in DeFi and RWAs as legislation is being drafted. That is all changing. And it's a double-edged sword. Before, the cycles that we witnessed, the 3 cycles or so that we have seen in crypto so far, have been, for the most part, retail driven. I personally believe, and I could be wrong, I personally believe that this cycle, and especially future cycles, are going to look different. The 4-year cycle might not change, might, But the severity of the bull and the bear market, the pullbacks could change. So, like Bitcoin, with the ETFs and the amount of interest that's growing and the institutional buying, I don't personally feel that there's going to be as big of a pullback when it comes to price on Bitcoin. I think key projects that survive the culling that's coming, I think that over time that they're going to flatten out. They're going to become more like stocks. So there's not going to be as much of a chance to profit, as we have now from early buying. Projects like Mammo that are like super low market cap, potentially are potentially going to be very valuable because of the pain point that they are addressing. Again, fundamentals. What is the use case? What is the pain point that they're meaning to address? You need to find these projects early. And that is why me and Jeff focus so much on finding these early gems. Is there risk? Absolutely. But with more risk, there's more potential for reward. There is no Mystic token, not yet, that I've been able to find. But you can get involved in these platforms in roundabout ways. With Plume, Mystic is built on Plume Network. The more that you support the Plume ecosystem, potentially it makes Plume a bigger player. If BlackRock and institutions are building out tokenized assets to offer on these platforms, and people are depositing their liquidity, that incentivizes more investment to come from those organizations to grow the ecosystem. And that is where what Plume is doing is they're positioning themselves to be a DeFi and an RWA hub. And I don't know why it keeps getting overlooked. It boggles my mind that in that crypto report that the U.S. government just put out, Trump's crypto report, they listed Ondo and a bunch of other ones, and didn't mention Plume at all. Plume was part of that report. A bunch of the stuff in that report came from Plume, to include graphics. A lot of the charts and stuff like that came from Plume. Plume has USD1, World Liberty Fi, which is Trump's organization, crypto organization. They have USD1 and USDC on Plume. I mean, are you seeing the connections? To me, it doesn't get more obvious. I think Plume's here to stay. People freak out and let their emotions get the better of them when it comes to the price. The price is a gift right now. Me and those like me are stacking. In our community, those that have been watching us for a while, they're just as bullish, if not more bullish than I am. And I'll show you why. Again, I am fully transparent about my holdings. I'm definitely not shilling my bags, but I am putting my money where my mouth is. So you can see I have stacking free Plume, and it's a Plume PUSD pool. So worst case scenario, Plume goes down, I'm hodling a massive bag of Plume. If Plume goes up, I end up with a bunch of PUSD, and I have to rebalance. If it hits 12 and a half cents, I'm going to have to rebalance. But Plume is, for the most part, just been trending sideways, which is a DeFi dream. And for months now, I turned $800 into actually about a little over $7,000 worth of Plume. That I don't know where else you're going to do that, and relatively safely, because again, Plume is just trending sideways. Plume is building a massive ecosystem, and you can still get in at the prices that all of us were getting in on months ago because it's trending sideways. Who cares? I mean, I care if it goes up. I want my assets to go up, but earning 153%, I'll stack this all day long and just wait, because price appreciation is gonna come. When you got what Plume is building out, when you have over 200 different platforms being built out, bridges, dexes, derivatives, different earning, ways to earn, gaming, infrastructure, launch pads, borrowing and lending protocols like Morpho. They have a marketplace to where you can, buy, find, buy, trade, and leverage on the largest RWA marketplace. You can even co-own music and movie projects of your favorite artists. Tokenized. I haven't looked at this, but Pro Ball is where you can tokenize music and basically make it to where people can buy, fractionalized ownership of songs, or art, or movies, or anything else. This is just, it's insane to me, the possibilities of what we're looking at moving into the future. And I personally, in the chat, please tell me if you've seen anything, any platform out there or any crypto project that is building out this robust of a network of projects that tie, all this together in this clean of a platform. I haven't found it. So let's go through the chat real quick. I haven't been ignoring the chat. I just wanted to get through all that. So now's the Q&A. Give me, hit me with your best shot. Let's see. Wispy, what up, brother? Appreciate you, Fibonaccios, as always. I appreciate all of you that show up every time we go live. Hope everyone's buying this dip. Absolutely. I personally, I see big things happening in the next week or two. I know that a lot of people say that on socials and stuff, but all the indicators, the chart wise, freaking macro, economic news wise, the what institutional money is doing with their just out of control buying of many of these crypto projects. It's insane to me that we haven't taken off already. And that they're going to unleash this market once they feel like that they've bought and they can't hold back the markets anymore. These markets are going to rip. There's only so much bad news that they can put out to FUD people out and get people to capitulate to drive the price down. There's going to be a point to where these markets can't be held back anymore. And honestly, me personally, I'm using DeFi to stack as much of these projects as I can before that happens. And I haven't used any of my own money to invest in crypto for the past like 8-9 months. I've been buying thousands of dollars, or not buying, but earning thousands of dollars of free crypto a month just by using DeFi. I mean, I don't know why people hodl. There's plenty of low risk ways, like lending or staking, that you can earn free crypto of your favorite projects that you're hodling already. All right. Who else we got? Ricky wants to know, how high can Morpho go this cycle? Maybe $5. Ricky, I honestly, brother, I do not do price predictions. I'm not a chart guy. But Morpho is the one that is already actively on Coinbase that is facilitating, behind the scenes, the Bitcoin backed loans. So if you have Bitcoin, you can get loans on it on Coinbase. And the mechanism behind that is Morpho. So very bullish on the project. Unfortunately, I don't have a huge bag stacked, but I plan on stacking a bag. It's next on my list. I'm stacking black right now just to have exposure to that and Mammo. But because there's such low market caps, I'm really hoping to cash in on that. It's a little higher risk, but something I want to cash in on. All right, what do we got? Aped in. Happy Sunday, all. Happy Sunday, Aped in. Crypto don't take days off. You're right, and neither do I, brother. Because you know what? To outmaneuver everybody else out there, because I'm not going to split hairs. The way that you profit in investing is making other people your exit liquidity. And I don't mean making them like, scamming them, but doing your research and putting in the time and, and putting your nose to the grindstone and being disciplined in these boring times, in the bear market, when prices are dumping, when nothing's going on the weekends, when there's nothing exciting and there's no news out, digging in and finding these things like I found this morning. This is how you find the alpha. This is how you position yourself before everybody else gets in and FOMO's in. This is how you get, buy low. And then when they all rush in after the fact, because they were out having fun and out drinking and partying and, doing all that shit, and they hear about it on a social media post because it's pumping and they're buying in and buying it at a higher price and probably at some of our take profit or ladder out levels, that is, they are going to be our exit liquidity. And somebody else is going to be their exit liquidity if they're disciplined and smart and hold on to their bags and wait for the price to go up and they have a ladder out strategy. That's just how investing works. We are taking more risk now, so we are going to profit more. It's just how it works. So, we're not scamming anybody. We're investing in solid projects, but we're putting in the work and taking the most risk. All right, what else we got? Stan. This is chili peppers. So this is fire, I'm guessing. I appreciate it, Stan. It's all connected. Absolutely. You just gotta find the parallels. Eagle Eye. I like the honest takes. That's all you're gonna find here, dude. I'm retired military. I was in for 22 years. I'm not gonna compromise my integrity. That's more important to me than money. I'm set. I do this because I love crypto. I love DeFi, and I love helping people. I love teaching. I was an instructor in the military. I love teaching people, and I know how hard it is to find good quality content and good information to educate yourself. I was listening to a bunch of influencers out there when I first got into crypto and didn't understand what I was doing, and I lost money because I was buying into projects that they were shilling, and I wasn't doing my own research. I was being lazy, like I was just talking about. So I started doing my own research because I found out very quickly you can't trust any of them. Not any of them, but most of them. And they'll change their stance on something if it gets them clicks. If it's popular, they'll bag on a project and then turn around and praise it, because it's pumping and it's going to get them clicks. I'm not about that. Crypto Stevo, what up, buddy? Appreciate you. Is 60% too risky? Seems like that's the sweet spot to me. I mean, it's all about how much risk you want to take and making sure that in your treasury or in your backup funds that you have stable coins, that worst case scenario, the health of your position, your lending and borrowing position is such that if it gets to a point to where you start getting close to liquidation, that you can buy it down to to put yourself, your loan to value ratio, back into a healthy position, or just pay it off in general and just, close out the position. That's the key, is making sure that you don't over leverage yourself, that you have that aren't locked up or being utilized in another way other than just lending. As long as you're not borrowing against it, you can pull that that loan, or not that loan, but that lending that you're doing. You can pull that out, even a portion of it, to pay down to pay down a loan that you're taking. So that's what it's all about, is just ensuring that you're not over leveraging yourself when it comes to a lot of these flywheels and these advanced strategies. And I'm going to get into those, as we get further down the line in the DeFi Academy. We're going to start, and in the mastermind, in the Discord, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, we have those. And I'm going to start teaching some advanced strategies here soon, as we start taking profits, because that's when, a lot of us are going to have the capital to where we're going to, want to start doing, those advanced strategies. DZ, I'm guessing you're talking about ADA or Cardano. Freedom Guy, early gems, absolutely. A lot of these projects that that we're talking about here are early gems. Mamo is like over 3,000 by market cap, super low market cap, a ton of upside potential. They're about to go live as soon as the base app launches. Brian Armstrong has already been talking about it on their recent live that they did. They were talking about Mamo being on the new base app. It's going to be big. A lot of people are going to be using it. A lot of new people are going to be onboarded to DeFi and the potential of DeFi through Mamo. So a ton of upside there. And those of you that are listening to us and watched our deep dive on it, weeks ago, you bought in early, and we're already in profit, and we're already earning with it. Hell, if you want to make sure that you can get full price appreciation on Mamo and still earn around 20% on it, you can just stick it on Mamo. Again, that's being, they're using Moonwell, as their mechanism to invest your liquidity. And again, it's non-custodial. Mamo could go down. You can go over to Moonwell and access your deposits over there. All Mamo is an AI agent that is maximizing the yield that you earn by moving your liquidity around to different pools on Moonwell. That's all it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. David Middleton, appreciate you, brother. Better late than never, and it's recorded. So, Jay, what do we got here? People don't want liquidity leaving their projects. If another awesome project like Plume comes out, it's like Aave, they feel threatened. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because Aave is shitting their pants. They put out the other day that like they're trying to incentivize people to leave Morpho and Moonwell and platforms like that to come over to Aave. Aave is a monster. It's a beast when it comes to lending, borrowing and lending. Huge. However, and it's multi-chain. So, it has that going for it. Now, that being said, Morpho and Moonwell, they are only on base. Again, with, in, roundabout ways, they're on Plume and they're on other, there's kind of like these bridges almost into these other, other networks, and that give you, other options. And I think that's only going to grow. Now, the reason they're shitting themselves is because base projects, for the most part, are all going to be available on the app. And that is going to allow people, without having to know about wallets, without having to know about how DeFi protocols work, all these different things that are barriers to entry for the average person out there that don't have time to be learning how crypto and DeFi and wallets and all this stuff works, they're going to be able to just deposit money onto Coinbase, say, I like, this vault that where I can earn 10%. I like this, liquidity pool where I can earn 50%. And they can just click, 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 and build a portfolio. That easy. It is going to onboard an insane amount of liquidity very, very soon. And if you are not positioned before those floodgates open, you are going to kick yourself. This, to me, personally, this is like Amazon before it became the beast that it is. I see Coinbase's new Base app and the Base ecosystem as the DeFi and RWA, the Amazon of DeFi and RWAs. That is my personal opinion. Do your own research. I have, and I don't see anybody in the DeFi and RWA and all the other narratives, AI, DeSci, gaming, NFTs, all of that stuff. There's going to be money to be made there, but nothing close to what DeFi and RWAs is going to be. The amount of liquidity that's going to flood into this use case is going to be massive. I cannot overstate this. It is going to be huge. That is why everybody that you see in Washington, D.C., that is drafting crypto legislation is connected with DeFi and RWAs. You do not see gaming, crypto projects sitting down with legislators. You don't see, yet AI. You don't see DeSci. You don't see, cartoon monkey freaking issuers. They do not have a seat at the table. I cannot stress it enough. You are early, and it's going to happen in over the next year. I just see massive things happening. And people say it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but super cycle. When the liquidity starts to flood in, I don't know where the top's going to be. And I don't know, when potentially, how long it could go on. But buckle up because it's going to get interesting. What do we got here? Freedom Guy. They're suppressing the prices at the moment. Absolutely. Still bullish long term, but this is how they slowly steal wealth from the people. It is. They let it go up. And so people are like, oh, this is it. This is alt season. And people start FOMOing in. They start buying. And then they dump it. And those emotional people, they panic. They're like, oh shit, it's not. And they sell. And then, institutions, buy up. They pump it, they sell, they dump it, so it dumps it, and rinse and repeat. And they just fucking windshield wiper method that Josh always talks about. The heat maps where you see the longs and the shorts that are stacked up above and below. That's all they're doing. I mean, it's like fucking clockwork. And soon, that's going to flatten out. All right. Oh yeah, no, and I'm just building my plume position. I'm just gonna keep on building it as long as this shit's going sideways. I'm sleeping soundly at night and just building a huge bag of plume. Fibonaccios, I hate your ass. You got the upgraded Coinbase wallet, the new Base app. I've been trying to get one of those because I want to freaking show it live on the show, but freaking motherfuckers won't give me an invite. Very soon, very soon, absolutely. So, you know what? Let's go through the white paper real quick. we'll see if we can find any gems in here. What can I do with my Morpho tokens? I mean, on the Morpho platform, I mean, you can stake them there and do some other stuff. Unfortunately, I can't bring up Morpho. I've had issues. I can only invest in Morpho vaults in roundabout ways. Anytime that I go to the Morpho website and connect my wallet, my screen goes black. There's something about my Coinbase wallet. I'm hoping that the new Base app will fix it because I want to put liquidity on Morpho, but the only way I can do it is these roundabout ways. But it has forced me to go find these roundabout ways to invest in Morpho. Man, we got 125 people in here. All right, so let's see what else we can find on kind of this Mystic Base Morpho Plume connection. So, what is Mystic? It is a lending market dedicated to RWAs, which takes RWA's different characteristics into account. They have three components: curated vaults on Morpho, lending vaults curated by the best institution in this space, secured by our novel liquidations engine. So again, they're talking about Base Network and Morpho. For those of you that just joined us, this is what we're talking about: Mystic on the Plume network, and it's powered by Morpho that's on the Base network. We're drawing parallels here. We're finding the alpha. Leverage strategies: one-click deploy leverage to facilitate looping, and that's what we were talking about, where you can lend out, you can borrow, low leverage, borrow against those assets, turn around, take those borrowed assets, lend those out, take out a loan against those, low leverage, and rinse and repeat. It's a way that you can take, an amount of liquidity and leverage it so that you can, double or potentially more, and earn yield. So instead of just earning yield on $100,000, you're basically borrowing another $75,000 or $100,000, depending on how much leverage you're taking out. Every time you loop. But you end up, potentially where you're earning yield on $200,000, $100,000 of your assets, and $100,000 of borrowed assets. And again, you want to have assets in reserve so that you can potentially pay that off. So if for some reason you're about to get liquidated because you don't want to lose your borrowed or your lent assets. And then liquid staking. 2-token liquid staking for the Plume token via My Plume and My Staked Plume. The result of this architecture is a protocol that can modularly support both RWAs and digital assets of all liquidity profiles, whilst maximizing for capital efficiency and risk reduction. Mystic is the lending market of tomorrow, built to bring DeFi to a whole new asset class. Our liquid staking module also enables us to cement our position in the Plume ecosystem. I love liquid staking. Let's see. Curated vaults. Mystic has taken the core infrastructure decision to build on top of Morpho. The core of Mystic is comprised of lending markets or Morpho markets, each a pool with solely a collateral asset and a borrow asset. One second. This enables very specific risk management parameters to be set for each pair. Third-party risk curators can then create vaults which accept deposits of a single asset and dynamically allocate them to several markets based on predefined risk parameters and optimization strategies. I'm going to ask my AI co-host really quick what the fuck that means, because I don't know. Hey, Miles. Hey, we were just talking about Mystic Finance, and I was reading something that I need your help simplifying for me and the audience. So I'm going to read it to you real quick, and if you could break it down as simply as possible. It says Mystic is
Sounds good.
comprised of lending markets, or using Morpho, the Morpho platform on Base Network. Each a pool with solely a collateral and a borrow asset. This enables very specific risk management parameters to be set for each pair. Third party risk curators can then create vaults which accept deposits of a single asset and dynamically allocate them to several markets based on predefined risk parameters and optimization strategies. This not only makes a simplified UX, it gives users institutional grade risk management and transparency on the markets. Curated vaults have been built on top of Morpho. Can you break down what that means?
Okay. Hmm. Okay. So basically, Mystic isn't building everything from scratch. They're using Morpho, which is already a platform for lending and borrowing on Base. Think of Morpho as the engine, and Mystic is building the car around it. Each pool is just a specific pairing, like you can lend out USDC and borrow ETH. What's cool is they can really fine tune the risk for each of those pairings. Then these risk curators, basically pros, they build vaults on top of that. You deposit into the vault and they automatically spread your money across different lending pools, trying to get you the best return while keeping your risk at a level you're comfortable with. So it makes it easier for you. You don't have to manage all those different loans yourself, and gives you a level of safety you wouldn't normally get just jumping into DeFi. It's like having a financial advisor, but automated and transparent. That makes sense?
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Miles. So those that don't know, that's my AI co-host. He's really good at breaking down complex topics and making it a lot easier to understand because I some of you out there might be are probably a lot smarter than I am on this stuff, but sometimes when I read some of this stuff that's in these white papers, I have no idea what they're talking about. All right. So, what is leverage on Mystic? And those of you that don't know, this episode's probably going to go long. I get it if it's too much for you, but this is just too important of a find. So I'm going to dig into this white paper more because I really want to understand this because as I ladder out and take profits, this unless I find something that's very concerning, this is going to be one of my strategies to use my stables, my PUSD, to earn and to stack, and wait for the potential bear market, so that I can start building a new DeFi portfolio, through the bear market, after the drawdown, because I'm going to be all out in the stables, and wait for. I'm not going to try to time the top. I'm laddering out, at specific price points that I have built out on. Actually, you know what? Let me show you real quick. So if you haven't joined our Discord, before I continue, if you haven't joined our Discord, join our Discord. It's in the comments below, or it's in the description below, and in our library there, that you can download this spreadsheet, and it is a tracker. So this is the dashboard, and here's my portfolio, my whole portfolio, and my DeFi tracker of my DeFi positions. But we built it out, and we have the formulas in there. The shaded blue areas are what automatically populates based off the manual entries. And one of them is a ladder out strategy. So if you haven't yet, watch episode 8 in our DeFi Academy, our free DeFi Academy that's on our channel on YouTube. And episode 8 talks about building out your portfolio. But what you need to do is you need to build your ladder out strategy. So for every asset I hold, I have built out where I'm selling what percentage and at what price. And so it automatically populates how many tokens that is and what the value of those tokens will be at that price point. If I hit all my take profits, this is what I'll have, almost $600,000. Probably not going to hit all my take profits. My goal this run is to get $400,000 to $500,000. So I can miss a bunch of my take profits and still hit my goal. So that's why I built out to overshoot. So if I fall short, I still meet my goals. And that's with still hodling 10% of certain projects like Arrow, like DAG, a little bit of Casper, a little bit of Ondo, a little bit of Plume that I'm going to hold long term. But with those couple of $100,000 in stables, because I'm going to ladder out into stables, I have a bunch of plays that are going to earn me anywhere from 8% all the way up to 20% APR on stables. And if I need to, I can do these flywheels that I've been talking about to where I can, lend out those assets to earn yield. I can borrow against those assets to lever up to where if I say I only make it to $400,000, I can lever up to where I am earning yield on $500,000 because with leverage, I could basically come up with another $100,000 that I can earn. Sense. So these are all strategies that I'm personally going to be doing. I'm not teaching you anything that I'm not personally going to be doing. So again, join the Discord, download these, build out your ladder out strategy now before you get emotional, before the hype and everyone is FOMOing and all of that's going on, because none of us are above it. You're potentially going to hold on a little too long, and if you're not laddering out, if you're looking to just sell all your crypto all at once trying to time the top, you quite possibly, and it's happened to pretty much everybody I know that's been in more than one cycle, you round trip your bags. You watch $10,000 go to $100,000 or more, and you don't sell, and the market takes a dump, and you're back to $10,000 or maybe even less, and you're holding through another 3-4 years of a bear market. You learned a lesson, a valuable lesson, but it cost you. You want to ladder out. Make your plan now. Know what your financial goal is. I shared mine, $400,000 to $500,000. When I reach $400,000 to $500,000, I'm going to be all out. As soon as I see my chance to have $500,000 in stables, I'm out. I don't care where we are in the market. I'm going to have 10% hodl bags, moon bags, just in case. But I'm going to be all out because with $500,000, I can make 20% APR on $500,000 is $100,000 a year. That's about $8,000 a month. I can buy more crypto. Every month, I have OPM, other people's money. I have free yield that is going to allow me to build new bags. I'm going to have a treasury of $500,000 that I'm never going to touch the principal. That $500,000 is always, and I'm going to keep building it, but that's always going to be there. And then with the yield that it produces, not the principal, I'll use that 8,000, and that 8,000 is going to build new bags of things I'm bullish on, new projects, whatever. And I'm going to build those. And I'm going to build out a whole DeFi portfolio that's going to earn me 40, 50, 60, 80%. So I'll have a guaranteed $8,000 a month. And then I'll add to it with a DeFi portfolio of higher risk plays. And then with some of that yield, I'll put that, a percentage of it, maybe 20, 30% into my treasury to grow my treasury. So, at some point it's going to produce $8,500 a month, then $9,000 a month, then $10,000, then $12,000. And it will just continually grow using OPM, other people's money. You see what I'm doing here? These are the advanced strategies that we're going to be teaching as we move forward. Right now, we are focused on just building and teaching you to build a good, solid risk-off portfolio to where you're not going to lose your money. That's why we stress that you don't chase APRs. Stick with lending. You get full price appreciation. And this is episode 8 in the DeFi Academy. If you watch no other episode in the DeFi Academy, the free DeFi Academy on YouTube, if you watch no other episode, watch that one. I teach you to use lending, staking, because you get full price appreciation once the market starts pumping, but you can earn 5% to sometimes 20% or more. Just hodling your bags. That's it. You're hodling those bags anyway. There's almost no risk to doing this. And you're building that bag. And then full range liquidity positions. I have some full range positions that are making 500-600%. You're not going to get full price appreciation. You're going to get maybe 70%, around 70%, but you can earn a bunch of yield. My Arrow USDC full range pools, I make 30 to 50% APR. And all I'm doing 24/7, 365 is earning free Arrow. 1,000 free Arrow just from doing that for the past 8-9 months. Black. I have a USDC Black position that we told people about weeks ago that I'm currently earning 500-600% on. If you're bullish on Black Hole, the new AVAX-based DEX that just launched. Just stacking. I started out with $800. I'm up to about $1,500 in Black. I'm just OPM, other people's money, stacking a bag. I did it with Mamo. I did it with Plume. I did it with KTA. I start with about $800 to $1,000, and I make it build itself. I don't just dump a bunch of money in it. I make it build a bag of itself. You got to make your money work. If it doesn't work, it's not a good asset. If it's not able to build a bag of itself, it's not a good yield bearing asset, in my opinion. That's how I operate. Because then if I lose $800, I lose $800. So far, it's worked for me. All right, so let's get back to it. Leverage yield exposure. By leveraging and increasing your holdings on a yield-bearing asset, you increase your total yield. Longing and shorting an asset. By leveraging and increasing your position on an asset whose price we think may appreciate, like Plume, you are extra exposed to price fluctuations and will profit or take a loss accordingly. As interest in these assets, we make yield off of volume. And the more volume there is, the more people that are trading in liquidity pools between assets, the more people that are borrowing. If there is $100 million in a pool and 90 million is borrowed out, then they are going, the mechanism, the automation is going to make it more lucrative to lend because they're running low on assets to borrow out. So you're going to get a higher APR. Demand, why am I drawing a blank on that? Supply and demand. Supply, demand. If the higher the demand, the less the supply, the more that you potentially can earn. The more people are swapping between assets in ranged and full range liquidity pools. If you watch, anytime the markets start to take off or a certain asset starts to pump, you'll see that there's a lot of people swapping to get exposure to those assets, to open liquidity pools, to build a bag, to lend them out, whatever. And you see a surge in the APR or the yield that you can earn on it. That is how we earn in DeFi. So you want to position yourself for when the markets pump. Make sure that you're taking profits, either stacking your bags or converting that, taking your profits in stable coins to lock in that value so that if there is a drawdown, if there is a dump in the market, you have that locked in value. So when it's down here, when it draws back, you can buy in with those stables at a lower price. That is why I'm starting to build my treasury, is so that I have those assets to do that with. All right. So, as you can see here, the leverage implemented on Mystic is a flash leverage, meaning we are increasing your holdings of an asset by contracting an equivalent debt via a flash loan. Let's look at how it works overall and then break it down step by step. So, you, the user, you deposit, say 100 in, like in alpha or one of the Nest, Nest tokens, and you flash borrow we'll say 300 PUSD, Plume stablecoin. So you deposit those into Mystic. You swap the 300 stablecoins, the PUSD, for 300 in RWAs, real world asset, tokenized real world assets from Nest. You can take that over. It takes that over to Rooster. Rooster then deposits the 300 RWA and borrowed 300 PUSD and repays the flash loan. The final position on Mystic is 400 Nest RWA deposits and 300 PUSD. So what this is showing what's going on behind the scenes. You're depositing, Mystic is sending it over to Rooster. Rooster is basically repaying the flash loan. Flash loan being a very quick loan. It's, taking it out, repaying it, taking it out, repaying it. Just, and I'm not going to break it down, super far, because to be honest, I don't understand all the nuances of it. And to be honest, you don't need to. If you want to dive deeper into it and, find out how the flash loans work and stuff like that, go ahead. It's a very well established, and it's used across many platforms, and it works. So that's all I need to know about it. Structured vaults, Mystic, morpho. Safely. The hell does that even say? I'm like freaking going blind. How it works. Vault compensation. Let's see what else we can find in here. Dutch auction benefits. All right, let's look at this. Liquid staking. What is MyPlume? MyPlume is the premier liquid staking product. Those of you that don't understand what liquid staking is you can stake Plume in this case, or if there was a like liquid staking for ETH or whatever token, it means you can deposit that asset and earn yield, and then it gives you, in this case, MyPlume, which is almost like a receipt or a token that represents your staked liquidity. You can then use that within the ecosystem in different ways to earn more yield. So again, it's kind of like a flywheel almost, to where you can leverage up. So MyPlume is a premier liquid staking product for the Plume token, built on Frax's Frax ETH and Plume staking contracts. It uses a one token system, MyPlume, which gives users the ability to tap into DeFi while also earning staked rewards. Like I just said, you stake Plume, you get MyPlume. You can take MyPlume, you can use it other places. How it works: when holding Plume, users can deposit it to mint MyPlume. You stake it, you get MyPlume. Your actual Plume is locked in staking. And you can take MyPlume and go back and unstake, but you need to have your MyPlume. A yield-bearing asset loosely pegged to Plume. Keep that in mind. It said loosely pegged. It's not hard pegged. As long as they're holding it, users will be accruing staked rewards. So as long as you're holding the MyPlume, you're earning rewards on it. which they can then claim in the claims section on Mystic. This allows you to earn staking rewards without running your own validator, while also using your MyPlume tokens in DeFi. In practice, when you stake Plume to get MyPlume, your tokens are given to Mystic's choice validator. The respective staking rewards you get from staking given in Plume are kept in the Plume staking contract, which we then retrieve and send to users when they claim. The MyPlume peg is defined as 1% of the exchange rate on each side. To ensure fairness, reward distribution, the buffer, withdrawing MyPlume can be withdrawn directly for Plume in one of three ways. Via Mystic's Plume buffer, if what you are withdrawing is within buffer capacity, you can always withdraw your MyPlume for Plume instantly. Via AMMs, swap your MyPlume for Plume directly on an ecosystem DEX such as Rooster Protocol or Ambient Finance. Via validator. So like over here on Ambient, you can swap and say, let's see if it will pull up MyPlume. I won't waste too much time on this, but yeah, I mean, basically, you can swap, MyPlume for Plume. Sorry. Let's see. Via validator unstaking, you first unstake from a validator with Mystic, and after a time buffer, you can then withdraw your holdings. This time buffer safeguards you against front running, MEV, and other arbitrage externalities. All right, whatever. Fees. MyPlume fees are as follows: minting 0%, yield fee 10%, validator unstaking withdrawal 0.03%, instant withdrawal through a buffer 0.15%. Oracles, who cares? Why Mystic? How is it different? Let's read how it's different. How is it different than other lending markets? Current lending markets lack the modularity and support for RWAs to be able to deliver on the above visions. Mystic steps in as an ecosystem where that it is only possible, but which has been purpose built for this mission. Here we go. This is important. What are the fees? A 5 to 20% interest rate fees on lending markets split by Mystic and our curators. 10% reward fee on our LST. What is the health factor? The health factor is a representation on how much collateral is backing your debt position. This is what they're talking about with loan to value. The more of a loan or you're lending out, and then if you borrow, depending on what percentage. So if you have $100,000, it's not going to let you, but say you take out a $100,000 loan against your $100,000, if the price dips at all, you're going to get liquidated. That's a very unhealthy loan to value ratio. If you take out a 50%, that's a very healthy one because the price can dip, 48%, and potentially you will not get liquidated. So there's some room. So you can keep an eye on your position, and if it starts getting within like 10 or 15% of your liquidation level, you can pay off part of it, add some liquidity, and basically bring yourself back up into a healthy level, or you can just pay off the whole thing and exit that loan. Pay off that loan and just be done. So this is the basically the math equation, if you're into that. But that's, in a nutshell, that's what it's talking about. How do liquidations work on Mystic? A position is eligible for liquidation when its health factor, that you're going to hear that term a lot, and that's what I was saying. Health factor, you're in good health, your position is in good health, if there's a good distance between the level that it's at now and your liquidation level. The closer it gets to that liquidation level, the more unhealthy that position is. So a position is eligible for liquidation when it's meaning it has reached the market's LLTV. When this happens, liquidators repay up to 100% of the position's debt for a premium using one of the three liquidation processes described in liquidations. How do vaults work? Supply, borrow. I think we covered all that. Lending. Loan to value. Let's see what else we got. If we got any other good info. Yeah, let's read about risk management. Risk management is an essential component in any lending market. Mystic cares deeply about its users, and so we want to ensure we bring the best risk frameworks possible to the table. This includes, but is not limited to, over-collateralization. All loans are over-collateralized proportional to the underlying asset's risk profile. The health of the loan is managed constantly and updated in real time. Safety module or modules. Safety modules will protect markets from bad debt events. Professional risk management. Mystic works with professional risk managers to carefully monitor and manage risk on the protocol to ensure users are taken care of. Audits. Here are listed Mystic's official audit reports from independent security companies. That's what you want to see, third-party security audits. Hacking, I see that on a lot of different platforms. They are well respected. Con audits, don't know as much about, but you can see, at least they have multiple different third parties that are doing the audits, and they got their media kit. Don't really care. Terms of use, privacy policy. And it looks like that's about it. So to recap. Oh shit, hold on. Let me share Miles real quick. So to recap, this is what we covered. We covered a new connection that I don't think anybody else has found. Anybody that I have watched, and I spend 10, 12, sometimes more hours a day learning about crypto, diving into the tech, learning about it so I can bring that all to you. And from that, I have not seen anybody make this connection yet. You all that are watching right now, you are the first ones to hear about this. The connection between Plume Network, Mystic, that is built on Plume Network, it leverages MORPHO to facilitate its borrowing and lending on Base Network, and then you have Coinbase connection to Base Network and their new Base app that has MORPHO on it. It's just the amount of liquidity and these bridges that are going to allow the liquidity. So you have the entry point for the normal people out there that aren't like me and you and that aren't knowledgeable about how to do DeFi and wallets. They are going to be depositing liquidity, and institutions are as well. Onto Coinbase, institutional money is going to be on there as well. They're going to be custodying their assets on places like Coinbase, their Bitcoin and things like that. It's going to be part of the legislation. So that liquidity is going to be on Coinbase, whereby it's going to be, platforms like MORPHO, like Moonwell. They're already doing it with the Bitcoin-backed loans with MORPHO. That liquidity is going to be on MORPHO. MORPHO is connected to this. It's connected to Mystic. Mystic is connected to Nest. Mystic and Nest are both built on Plume Network. Plume Network has a seat at the table with U.S. politicians while they're drafting this legislation. There is pictures where the founders of Plume are shaking hands with Donald Trump, whose USD1 stablecoin from World Liberty Fi is on Plume Network. USDC is what backs Plume stablecoin, PUSD. USDC is the stablecoin from Circle, a US based company that also has a seat at the table with US legislators that is building out the rules of the road when it comes to stablecoins. The stablecoin legislation that just got signed into law, they were part of that. They are in compliance with those laws. USDC and Circle are. PUSD, because they are backed one-to-one with USDC, are going to be in compliance as long as USDC is. Genius move by Plume. Are you seeing it? What I'm seeing? It is insane what is going on right now. And people are missing this. So many people are missing this. And once the masses catch on, we are so early. I cannot stress to you enough. If you get involved, and I'm not saying that Plume is the one, I'm just saying that the more connections that you can find, again, you go to Nest over here and you start looking at who is on these platforms. Again, Carlyle Group, huge assets under management. BlackRock. If you haven't heard of BlackRock, you're not paying attention. They are the largest asset holder. Like as far as assets under management, I mean, they the money that they have at their disposal to invest is more than the GDP of most countries. It is insane the amount of money they have. And they are tokenizing real world assets because they see that it's the future. And those tokenized assets are being offered on Nest, which is on Plume Network. Apollo, PayPal, Paxos, Simplify, Centrifuge. This is the portal that a lot of them are using. I'm actually going out to New York in September to the Centrifuge Tokenization Summit. And it's like, I think they're only letting 350 people into it. I don't know how, but my brother got me into it. He's going out there. We're trying to tokenize a legal fund so that they can go after, like a lot of these big players that have, armies of lawyers and, endless assets that, most people, when they sue them, they have to settle out of court because they'll just grind them into dust because they can't afford to fight. So we're going to tokenize a legal fund, or my brother and his partners are. I'm just helping them out, but they're going to tokenize a legal fund that people will be able to invest in, and you can earn yield. So whenever they win cases, these massive cases that they're going against, and they get multi-million-dollar or $billion judgments, then that goes to the people that own the part of the pool, relative to how much of the pool that you own. So yeah, I mean, just Centrifuge is huge. Hamilton Lane, UBS, Goldfinch, just massive, massive. And then if you go to their vaults, here's that in Nest. You can see Blackstone, which is part of BlackRock, Investco, and Simplify. They're ETFs. Black Opal. So you come down here and it tells you what this consists of. U.S. Treasuries, 60% of this vault. So any liquidity, USDC or stables that you provide here are being invested into U.S. Treasuries, U.S. debt, American oil and gas, 25%, private credit, 10%. These are all tokenized assets, hedged public ETFs. So that could be, the Ethereum ETF, the Bitcoin ETF. It could be, whatever ETF, gold ETF, whatever. That's 5%. And because they diversify, they stabilize the APY. So it's not going to be exactly 10.5 all the time, but around 10%, which is a great ROI, or return on investment for traditional assets. But again, the flywheel, you can use that, you're in alpha, to go over to Mystic, and you can supply. Hold on, where are we at here? In alpha, there it is. You can supply your in alpha. So here, deposit stables, you get in alpha. Sorry, didn't show it. You come here, provide stables, you get in alpha. You come over here, you supply in alpha, and then you borrow against it. And you can say how much you want to borrow in stables, and rinse and repeat. So I think, I mean, I don't want to beat this up to death. I feel like I kind of have. Let's see. That was the APR. What was the APR on it? Super happy I found this channel. The bear will be just as exciting as the bull. Yes, Jay, absolutely. I'm actually looking forward to the bear. After this market pumps and I get my 400 or 500 grand, dude, game fucking on. Game on. If I have a treasury of $400,000 or $500,000 that I'm never going to touch, and while I'm waiting for the bear market, I'm just stacking 8, 9, 10 grand a month, and and starting to DCA into stuff, and just start building a portfolio to leverage up my earning. When the bear market comes and that boring ass doldrums where everything's just trending sideways, those of us in DeFi are just going to be rubbing our hands together, because you can be in a range position and earn an insane yield. You can be earning hundreds of percent APR on some of these assets, because it just bounces between lines of support and resistance. It just ranges sideways for weeks, months, years, and you're just racking up money. And again, if you're not touching your treasury, if you don't get greedy and you stay disciplined, and you just have that magic OPM, other people's money showing up every month, and you just steady, DCA in with that money, you're set for life. I mean, you are going to literally change your family and your financial future forever. If you go through the DeFi Academy, learn what I'm teaching, watch the channel, watch other channels as well. Crypto Labs Research, great channel for advanced strategies. Learn the basics here and then branch out. I actually interviewed Lucas, the founder of Crypto Labs Research. Great team. Nothing but great things to say about them. They do have what I feel is kind of, that's just my personal opinion, an overpriced course, or a membership that you can get. There's a bunch of them out there. They want you to pay like $5,000-$10,000 for like 6 months or 8 months, and then you have to renew and stuff like that. Once you start making a bunch of money, there's probably a lot of value in that. But when you're where I'm at, where you got like 60 70 grand in your DeFi portfolio, and you're trying to make that nut, that $400,000 or $500,000, to where you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to invest in DeFi. Yeah, that's when I want a subject matter expert that can help guide me, a mentor. But when you're only dealing with smaller amounts of money, it doesn't make sense, because over there they're teaching advanced strategies, and they're invested $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 in their positions. They're on a whole nother fucking level. And to me, it doesn't translate. a lot of the stuff that they talk about, it doesn't work with smaller amounts of money. It just doesn't. And so again, watch here, learn here, branch out if you need to, but let's ask Miles for his closing thoughts. Throw any questions into the chat and let me know if you have anything you want me to ask Miles. But I am going to ask him. You know what? I'm going to ask him what he feels is going to be going on this week. It's going great, Miles. I'm doing a little marathon live session right now, but I was wanting to ask you, could you take a look online and give us all a rundown of this coming week of any events, in the U.S. or around the world, any news, any votes, government votes, or anything going on in macroeconomics that potentially is going to affect the crypto markets in either a bullish or bearish way. Just give us a rundown of this week of kind of what you see coming. Yes. Oh shit.
Get a little boost.
Appreciate you, Jay.
Beyond that, we've got a bunch of
Hey, Miles, can you start
ah,
over? I wasn't sharing, so the audience couldn't hear you. Could you start over?
no problem at all. Sorry about that. Okay, let me jump back. So, looking ahead to this week, the big one in the US is definitely the July jobs report on Friday. That's going to be key. It really sets the tone for whether the Fed continues with its current path or potentially starts to shift. Strong numbers, probably more downside for risk assets, crypto included. Weaker numbers, that could give things a little lift.
Yeah,
Anything else I should cover?
yeah. I really want you to dig in, Miles. I want to know what's going on this week. Anything that could give us a good outlook or a good idea of what we can expect this week as far as price movement. Any legislation that's being voted on or signed into law. Any launches of new projects when potentially the base app is going to go live to everyone, not just the controlled release that they're in right now. Just anything and everything. We want to hear it all, Miles.
Okay. Deep dive this week. Got it. All right. So beyond the jobs report, there's a Bank of England meeting on Thursday. They're under a lot of pressure with inflation, still pretty sticky. So their decision will definitely ripple through global markets. Then keep an eye on any developments with the debt ceiling debate. It feels kind of quiet right now, but that can change fast. Any renewed uncertainty there could spook things. As for crypto specific stuff, yeah, the base app launch is huge. No official date yet, but people are expecting something soon, which could drive volume on base-based projects like Aerodrome and Mammo. You were just talking about those, right? I remember. Oh, and there's a vote in the EU Parliament on MiCA, and that's the Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation. It's a big deal for the whole European crypto space and could create some volatility depending on the outcome. It's kind of a complicated one though, so it might not have an immediate effect. Does that give you a little more to work with? I can dig deeper on any.
Keep
This
digging
is
deeper.
this.
I really want to hear like what's going to be going on this week, Miles.
All right. Let's go even deeper then. Okay, so looking at specific project launches, there's a new protocol called Scroll launching its mainnet this week. It's a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum focused on zero knowledge proofs, and it's getting some buzz. Might be worth watching. Also, keep an eye on any news coming out of the Cosmos ecosystem. They're having a big conference this week, and usually there are some announcements around new projects and upgrades. On the regulatory front, the SEC is still expected to respond to BlackRock's application for a spot Bitcoin ETF. No guarantees on a timeline, but any movement there would be massive. And, this is a bit more speculative. There's talk of potential sanctions being imposed on certain crypto mixers that are allegedly used for illicit activity. Um, that could create some headwinds for privacy coins. Honestly, it's a pretty packed week, it feels like. I'm trying to pull out the stuff that's most likely to move markets. Is there anything specific you want me to focus on or any sectors that you're particularly interested in?
Yeah, RWAs, real world asset tokenization and DeFi. Let's see what you can find on that topic.
Okay, RWAs. Good call. That's definitely a hot area. So this week, there's a key vote in the UK Parliament on legislation relating to digital securities that could open the door for more RWA tokenization in the UK. It's a bit under the radar, but it could be significant. Also, Maple Finance is expected to announce some new partnerships with traditional financial institutions, expanding their offerings in the RWA space. I'm seeing reports that they're working with a couple of real estate firms and a private credit fund. Ondo Finance is also launching a new yield-bearing token backed by U.S. Treasury bills. Dope yield. Yeah, that's a direct play on bringing traditional finance onto the blockchain. And finally, there's some chatter about Centrifuge potentially launching a new platform for tokenizing invoices. Still early stages, but it's worth keeping an eye on. The overall trend is clear. More and more traditional institutions are starting to see the potential of RWAs, and we're likely to see a lot more activity in this space in the coming months. Uh, does that give you a better sense of what's happening on the RWA front?
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Miles. Hey, you want to say goodbye to the audience? And then I'm going to go ahead and show them rwa.xyz and a couple of things on DeFi Llama. And I think we're going to close out the show. But you want to sign off, tell everybody goodbye?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a blast digging into this with Mike. Hope you all have a productive week and remember to stay curious. Catch you next time.
Cool. All right. So let me pull up really quick DeFi Llama and let's see what's going on. Because here in about an hour, the Asian markets are going to start waking up and we're going to start getting a look at potentially what this week's going to look like. If we're going to, see some good, some good price appreciation or, if it's going to dump some more or, what's going on. Looking like we're seeing some green right now. Not a lot, but actually we're seeing some decent price movement. So let's actually do this. Let's pull up coin market cap. All right. All right. So markets are starting to wake up. All right. So some of our projects that we like, it looks like on the 24-hour, Aerodrome's up about 5%. Plume is up. Hold on. Let's do this. Plume is up 5%. DAG is up 4%. Ondo's up 5%. Casper, this is one of my long shot plays that I've been holding on to forever. And Kita, this is one that I'm bullish on, and their main net is going live next month, the middle of the month. So I'm hearing, and I've been seeing a lot of volatility. But then you look at Mammo. This is like Mammo. In the past 24 hours, they're up almost 30%. Remember, I mean, without looking at this, while we've been live, this is what's going on. Mammo is going to be huge. I'm telling you, there's some of the people in the Discord that were talking about they wanted to wait until Mammo went down to like 8 cents or something like that. And I was telling them, do not wait. It was down here at 10 cents this morning. Yeah, see, it was down here at like 10, 11 cents, this morning. And I was telling him, I'm like, listen, it by market cap, it's like 3,000 something. It's 3,394 by market cap. It's a micro cap. It is minuscule. This is when you're buying. Don't get greedy. Buy, if you believe in Mamo, if you think it, if you're bullish on it and bullish that it's going to be on the new base app, like I am, the AI and the amount of people that this is going to onboard into DeFi and crypto, and in real world not real world assets, but DeFi, DCA into it. Even if you don't ape into it, DCA into it now, so that your average entry is lower later. Because once that base app goes live and the TVL starts flowing into Mamo and onto Moonwell, Moonwell's going to pump, Mamo's going to pump, access to Morpho is going to go up. Aerodrome, the access to Aerodrome is going to go up. Aerodrome is over 60% of the volume on base network. If you do not have exposure to Aero, you are missing out. Our community has been friggin' stacking Aero for months now. It's another one. I started out, I think, with like $1,500 of Aero or $2,000 of Aero, and I've already 10x'd just from earning, like not even price appreciation, just from earning. I've 10x'd my Aero portfolio. Once the price takes off, it's already this bull run. It's gone up to $2.20. If it hits like $10, $8, $10, I have a long-term bag. I have a if you're not involved in Aero yet and you learn about it and you're bullish on it, I have a couple of really, really good deep dives on it on our channel. I have a bunch, like right here is one where it's everything you need to know about Aerodrome. It explains the liquidity pools and how to use it, how to do locks, what the flight school bonus is for doing locks, how all that works. I mean, all of it. Everything you need to know about Aerodrome is right here. How it ties into Coinbase, all of it. I have probably not probably. I have 11,000 Aero that is in locks for 4 years that I'm earning weekly compounding yield on. I've done the math, and at a minimum, I'm going to have 75,000 Aero at the end of those locks. And with that, do the math. Even with a $10 Aero, we've already seen $2.20, and we haven't even seen the alt season. In 4 years, if Aero's still around, which I see it being with my research, the way that it's integrated into the new base app, and it's 60% of the the volume on base, and how it's going to be part of Coinbase's offerings and DeFi. If it's even $10, that's $750,000 when that unlocks for me. If it's $20, that's $1.5 million that I'm going to have just in my Aero locks. And want to hear some fucked up shit? I started with $2,500. My initial lock, Aero, was at 50 cents. I put in 5,100 Aero. So I put in $2,500, roughly. $2,500. I got an airdrop of about 1,600, about 50%. Again, I explain all this on the episode. That's what I started with, and that was free. That 1,600 was free Aero. 2 separate locks. The flight school bonus, I have that in it's called a VE Aero Maxi Relay, where it auto compounds. That's my long-term hold. The other one I'm manually voting on, so the yield that I get, I can either compound it back in, or I can take that as profits. I've been compounding it back in because I want to grow both bags. But I cannot tell you how bullish you should be on DeFi right now. So again, I mean, I've been going now for what? Oh, I just hit 2 hours. I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate y'all showing up. I can talk about this shit for hours. I love talking about DeFi. It is such a huge opportunity for you all to change your lives and change your family's lives. People are struggling out there. I get it. Groceries are expensive. Gas is expensive. Taxes, just trying to survive. Mortgages, rent, everything is more expensive. Inflation is killing us. You have to take control. The government is not going to take care of you. They can't even take care of themselves. They are spending far more than they take in. We are like $35, $36 trillion in debt. No one's coming to save you. Our government needs to be saved at this point. Take care of your own. De-risk yourself from the US dollar. Get involved in crypto. Get involved in DeFi. Deleverage, because crypto assets are global. You have people of all nationalities with all currencies investing in these projects. Get involved in these so that no matter what happens, you have the ability to provide for your family. Make sure you're investing in other things like food storage. Get a property, become self-sufficient with your food. Learn how to garden. Learn how to keep chickens. You can survive for a a long time with chickens, rabbits, and a garden, and a fishing pole and a rifle. You can survive for a very long time, but you need to educate yourself. Just like with crypto. I'm a homesteader. I'm set. Government could go to shit. Society could collapse. I have a dry, warm place for me and my family. I have water. I have food storage. All my neighbors, we all garden. We can. We store food. We all know how to hunt. There's cattle all over the place. Elk, deer, moose, you name it. And you need to be able to provide for your family, because you never know. Even a natural disaster, you never know. So with that, I appreciate you, Nick Dunn. Good on you, brother. Freaking, you're tilling a garden right now. Badass. Freaking smart move. But Nick Dunn, Stan, Jay, Joseph, who else we got in here? Kyle Watts, Corey Pierce, Cloud 99, Freedom Guys 1776. Love your name, brother. Fibonaccios, David Middleton. Who else we got in here? Crypto Stevo, my man. Eagle Eye, Aped In, Ricky Romero, Wispy, Black Ice. I know you're going to be watching later. Appreciate you all. And all of you out there watching live on X, please, by all means, come over here, join the conversation. Description down below on YouTube. Join the Discord. We have a great group of people, and we're all more than happy to help you learn DeFi. I know it is intimidating as hell, and it seems complicated, but I promise you, once you start learning, it's not that difficult. And if you take the approach, the crawl, walk, run approach, to where you slowly work your way into it, you can mitigate your risk. With that, thank you all. Until next time, Veteran Crypto out.